Hey everyone, Graham from Loudwire here, and it's my honor to have the one and only Will Ramos here from Lorna Shore. Thank you so much, man. How you doing?
Very good. How you doing, Graham?
I'm doing fantastic. And of course, we're talking today because Lorna Shore Pain Remains is the album of the year. Let's talk about the beginning of 2022 because I want to go through your year a little bit. At
Let's
the
do
beginning
it.
of 2022, obviously your life has changed significantly at that point. There's a lot of people who love the EP that came out. You're all of a sudden you have a bunch of new fans and stuff. How are you feeling at the beginning of 22? Like, where are you at?
Well, honestly, I was really hopeful, especially we just because we had all that momentum, just like what you're saying with the whole EP. Like we had a lot of expectations for what we were going to do next. And normally that would get people a little bit like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna be able to handle all this. That can be super stressful. But at the end of the day, I was very confident and I was ready to go. I was excited to put out more music because the EP was so short. It was only 3 songs. So we were like, all right, well, we want to put out a whole album. And like, how are we going to do it so that it tells every part of Lorna? It's not just, the whatever we put out already. We want it to be heavier. We want it to be more melodic. We want it to be more emotional. So, this really gave us the opportunity to do that. And I was obviously really excited for it.
100%. And especially I think when you get to the end of at the end of the record, you get to the Pain Remains trilogy. It's just an absolutely I don't know how to explain it, like a transcendent piece of art. I've heard in interviews before that you say, you're generally a very, very happy guy. You're like a happy-go-lucky dude. Yet
Yeah.
with those songs though, it seems that you have such a good insight into sadness and depression. Like, so what do you like attribute that to?
Well, I love sad music, which is kind of funny because people see me as like a really happy person. I like to think of myself as that as well. But like for me, I really love listening to sad music. I feel like that's the kind of music that it speaks and it stays. It's not just like one of those where you can hear the breakdown and you're just like, fuck, that's so heavy. And then you're just over it, however many times it doesn't have that breakdown later. Like I love sad music and I think everybody in some kind of way has experienced pain, whether they're aware of it or not. And as soon as you start like pulling out your phone and actually just writing down lyrics, I mean, at least for me, like it just starts to come naturally. And it's so maybe it's certain things you don't talk about or like, really anything. But once you get into that writing state of mind, it just, like I said, it just comes out. And I've always wanted to write music like this. So, once I got that platform and the opportunity to just be able to do that, I think, it all just worked itself out. And, a lot of deathcore nowadays doesn't really have, it only really has like anger, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just like, and maybe like some sadness, but it doesn't really touch upon the emotional part of the sadness. It's more just again, going back, it reflects back to anger and just like, we don't want that. We want to make music that we all want to hear at the end of the day. And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear sad deathcore, melodic, sad deathcore. And I think we nailed it.
For sure. It's weird how far deathcore has come since it started. I mean, I feel like I sound like an old man when I'm like, I remember when deathcore came out back in the day, like back in the MySpace days. Back then, like if someone was making like pig noises or pig squeals, it was like for one section of the metal community, it was like the lamest thing you could do. It was like, oh, this is so. And then, of course, now we've come all the way to here, and you're making these not pig squeals really, but like pig-like noises, and everyone's like, "This is amazing! This is a," it's so weird how it's been able to change like that. Like, did you ever expect that to go full circle like that?
No, definitely not. I mean, deathcore and every music in general has evolved so much, especially between like pig squeals or just like everything backing it, the production. It may not even be just the pig squeals, maybe because the production quality was so poopy once upon a time that it just like what I was saying before, it just sounded so raw. Whereas now everything is starting to get produced better. There's better audio recording gear. There's more structure behind all these things, and I think that just draws a whole. People don't realize it; they think it's just like the vocalist that they're getting in tune with, but it's actually the entire band that's going on, and a whole bunch more factors, a whole lot of more factors people aren't like aware of. And I think that all plays its part, really. It's not just the pig squeals, it's everything else.
100%. Like I went and listened back to Job for a Cowboy's Doom EP. It's still fun to listen to, 100%. And but it does sound like ass compared to like the stuff that comes out today. Because like your stuff, you listen to like Slaughter to Prevail or whatever, and it's like this sounds Darko US especially like this sounds
Oh,
so good. Like the production quality has come such a long way to be able to capture the full frequencies of like what a deathcore band actually sounds like.
I think as we're going further too, I can't wait to see like what this evolves into, because now all the bass they drop heavier. All the guitar like tones are just even like, I don't even know. I don't play guitar honestly, but I mean I do, when I was a little kid, but I don't know much about this now. But it just everything sounds beefier. Everything fits where it's supposed to. And yeah, just I mean, I was thinking about that. I was literally thinking about that Doom EP as well, because that's just so. I just remember just that one pig squeal that was just like scattered across the entire thing. I think at one point it was just too heavy for people to be able to digest. And I think because of the production value and because people are adding other things into it, that's what's changing the genre as a whole. And at the end of the day, like a band is just a band. Like everybody is just metal. You know what I mean? And everybody does metal in their own way. But when people start putting like subgenres and all these crazy things behind names, it almost takes away from a lot of people's experience, because they just like, oh, I don't listen to that. Oh, I don't listen to that. That's too heavy. You know what I mean? But like every band has their own element to it. And we have those blackened deathcore elements, but we also have death metal elements. I have a metalcore background. So, all these things start to flow into one another. And at the end of the day, it's just metal. And this is just our take on metal. So, I mean, if we could bridge the gap and bring people like, closer, that would be amazing. But I mean, we still got those people who are just like, man, this isn't this. This is this, and this. And we're like, yeah, whatever, man. It's fine. It's just metal. This is how we do it.
With the EP, there's the one big attention grabbing moment into the Hellfire and the last breakdown. Was there any pressure in your mind to be like, oh, I need to create another moment like that to get people's attention?
Well, partly, but at the same time, we don't want to be one of those bands that just like that's the whole band. You know what I mean? Like we want to have little parts like that, but there's so many more elements that are going on that I feel like can really pull the band in like not a different direction, but like a further, like moving on from that. Like, yes, we do have that one part from To the Hellfire, but if you actually listen to the whole album, like we have a part like a very similar, not exactly the same kind of part, but a similar part like that in Apotheosis. And they're there. It's just like that's not the identity that we want to take on. We want to be a little bit of everything. And again, I think that goes back to what we're talking about like bridging gaps between genres. Like we don't want to just be that deathcore band that just has something crazy every single time an album comes out, because then if you don't hear that, you're like, oh man, this album sucks. It's like, no, dude, like Pain Trilogy, like Apotheosis, Soulless Existence, these are all amazing songs too. And yeah, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to expand ourselves. We don't want to just pigeonhole ourselves into one little area and be like, all right, we have to do this every single time.
Yeah, and the album truly is great front to back. You're talking about balancing those dynamics. There's so much for any metalhead to just jump in and listen to this thing. If you like symphonic stuff, if you like brutal stuff, if you like sad stuff, there's just so much in this thing. And another interesting thing that happened this year is you guys played Lollapalooza, which is like a kind of a breakout moment for a deathcore band, because back when Lollapalooza started, they thought that metal was so lame that they didn't want to have metal. They didn't want to have Ozzy Osbourne on Lollapalooza. So now for a deathcore band to come in and kind of break that mold a little bit, how was it being there and playing that show?
Honestly, we thought it was going to be bad at first, because
Okay.
we were just like what you're saying. You're like, well, people are only going to come to see like everybody else, and then and then like Metallica, and and then we're just kind of there. But honestly, that was one of the best shows that we could have played, because it was just really cool to see how many people still wanted to come out and see us, because we first started the set, we hit the first note, we're looking out at the crowd, we're like, okay, here we go. This is just going to be like a show. I guess it's fine. And it may not be very great, but we're just going to play it. And then like, as we kept playing, like you could just see this area just filling up with people, and like, whether they're just like normal people, which, whatever, people listen to like everything else, or they're just like us metalheads, like people that are walking back and forth are just like, wow, I hear something going on and I want to see what's going on over there. The mix of people, it made me hopeful, honestly. I was like, this is incredible. Like, we started out, there wasn't a lot of people here. Now we're ending it. There's like a billion people here, it feels like. Then I go over to Metallica and I see them and I'm like, damn, these guys got a lot of freaking people. I mean, you can't blame them. They're Metallica, obviously. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That was a moment for me, for sure. I thought that was amazing.
I do love that about Gen Z. Like, I love watching Gen Z like be so open to the music that they can appreciate. Like, I'm a filthy millennial. Like, we were so tribalized back in the day, but like, I deserve it. But like,
With you, man. I'm a millennial too, so let's fucking go.
yeah, I just love seeing it, man. It's so great. Are you getting a lot of people coming to you being like, I didn't really listen to metal, but then I heard you guys, and like now I kind of understand why people like it so much.
Oh, a lot of people. And it's funny because there's a lot of people in the metal community that are like hating on that. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, this is an amazing thing. Like, dude, we have people that would never even think about listening to this. And yeah, they're different, but at the same time, these people are going to flood into the rest of the deathcore market and the rest of the metal market in general, because now, they got their foot in the door, they're here, and now they're going to look around. They're going to see like, okay, well, we found Lorna Shore may be written on the door, but now you open the door and now you got freaking Brand of Sacrifice, Slaughter to Prevail, exactly, like everything is there. And now people are more willing to even give it a try. And because, like what I was saying before, like the production value is a lot better, it's a lot less raw, there's a lot more structure behind songs. It makes people feel like they're more comfortable. It brings them back to like when you listen to pop music, and pop music all has structure, and you're like, I can remember this, I can remember this, I see what's going on here. Whereas back in the day, it was just kind of like you getting pummeled in the head. And now we have all these bands that are adding like pop elements, and I feel like, again, people don't want to hop in there, but now people are hopping in there, and I think that's only going to grow the metal scene as a whole. Obviously we hope the best for us, but like, it's for everybody. We don't own anything. We're just happy that people are getting into this genre that once upon a time was almost undigestible to these people. Now they're able to digest it.
I love an old Facebook post that I found of yours from like 2014, and it was
Oh
about.
God,
You probably know what I'm talking about.
I don't. But if it's from 2014, wow, I was 20 years old.
Well, it's a good one. I think it's inspirational, actually. It says, "You quit because you think you suck. Man up, practice hard every day so that one day you'll be what you always saw yourself doing."
That was a good one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. So, how does it feel to be what you always saw yourself doing?
Honestly, it's surreal. I've always wanted to do this, and I never thought in the back of my mind that it would be possible. And now things are happening. We're making it happen. And honestly, it's honest. Part of me doesn't believe it, and then the other half of it is like, all right, you know what? But people are coming out to the shows, so something good must be happening out here. I guess practice makes perfect at the end of the day. I still feel like I have such a long way to go, but I'm glad that people are just latching themselves on. So forward momentum. Let's fucking keep going, see what happens.
For sure. And speaking about that success, uh, sometimes people like success doesn't always feel the way you thought it was going to feel, right? Like when you hear some people's stories. When it comes to you, does success feel like you always wished that it would feel from back in the day?
I want to say yes, but at the same time, there's still so much work to do between the band and, just like me and trying to get better at the things that I want to get better at. So you almost kind of get lost in the jargon. It just feels like you're just doing the same thing And honestly, the only thing that really brings me up is when I go to shows and I just see people singing, the lyrics back to me. Like I remember being a little kid, and I've always wanted that experience of people just singing the lyrics. Like I don't even have to sing. Like, I put the mic away for like a second and just hear everybody singing that, and that's what pulls me in. And I'm like, wow, like this is what I've always wanted to do. Otherwise, it's just work, 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 work. Sometimes you get a little lost, get in the work, so you don't really get to appreciate the work that you've already done because you're like, all right, what's next? But the show's really that's really what shows me, what's going on, and it's really inspirational for both myself and I imagine the rest of the band because we never imagined ourselves to even be in a situation like this.
It's great to see, and it's so exciting to watch, even from afar. Uh, and last thing for you, man, like, what's next? You're talking about the work that needs to be done. You're talking about the things you want to improve on. Like, what's next? What are these next couple of years gonna hopefully see for you guys?
Well, we want to keep going up. So like whatever that entails, whether it be like more arena shows, just better festivals. We just played a bunch of really nice festivals in Europe, and that was one of my first experiences in the festival world. So we're hoping when this next year comes around, we hit more festivals. We have nice tours with more big bands. Eventually, we'll hit the studio one day and we'll get back to it. But for the time being, we just put out all this stuff. So we're just hoping for the best. Just play more shows, get out there and play for the people that actually want to hear us. We haven't even done a Europe headliner. I haven't even been to the eastern part of the world yet at all. So we just want to make it out to everybody that's even willing to see us, and then see what happens from there.
Who's the one band you wanna that if you could tour with any band you want to tour with?
Same.
Like, call your shot.
In Flames.
Oh yeah, I know they're your favorite of all
As soon
time.
as he started asking, I was just like, in motherfucking Flames. They're my favorite band in the whole world. And yeah, they're amazing to me. They just put out another song the other day, and I'm just listening to it with the band, and they're like, wow, dude, this is pretty good. Who is this? I'm like, In Flames. They're my favorite band though. So
You played
there
with
you
them
go.
this year though, right?
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite shows. I cried. When you go to like you see one of your favorite bands like ever, and they're just singing the lyrics, and you're just out there, you're just sobbing hysterically. I was that guy, and honestly, sometimes kind of need that.
Of course.
So that brings me that sad element that I was talking about before. Where you put it in metal, and it's like this is sick. And I remember listening to In Flames as a kid, and I was just like, they have some sad songs, and hearing those songs live, I'm still attached to those songs. So amazing band.
All right, man. Well, again, thank you so much for giving me your time today. And thank you for the record. Loudwire's album of the year. I'm sure a million other people's album of the year. Nowhere to go but up for you guys, man. Congratulations. And thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me, man. It was a great time. It was nice talking to you.